production.
What's up? It's your boy Al, your baseball analyst for Swac'nafool podcast, and we're coming live to you with another interview. We got Coach ELLIOT Jones, head coach of the Alabama A&M Bulldog baseball team. How you doing, Coach Jones?
Doing well, Al. Man, thanks for having me, man. This is really good what you guys got going on.
I appreciate it, man. So we can go ahead and get started, man. Just tell us about yourself and where you from, any personal things you want to share with the audience.
Got you. Well, I'm ELLIOT Jones, man, the head baseball coach at the outset of Alabama A&M University. Originally from Shreveport, Louisiana, which is, for those who don't know, is northwest of Louisiana, of the boot. Went to Huntington High School, where I was a two-sport athlete, played basketball, football, and baseball. Played it all, actually, but locked in focus on football and baseball in my last 2 years of high school. And then had an opportunity to get a scholarship, earn a scholarship to Southern University, where I played first base for the legendary Roger Kadar. Graduated in education. Also had a master's in sports administration as well from Grambling State University. Then I had a chance to get right into coaching at a young age. Had an opportunity, was blessed with an opportunity to get back to Southern and coach at the collegiate level under Coach Roger Kadar his last 5 years as the head coach, and then had a chance to coach with Carrick Jackson for 2 years. And so then I took a year off from coaching. My mother got ill, so I relocated back to Shreveport, Louisiana, took care of her for a year, and then had an opportunity to join one of my really good friends, my mentors, fraternity brothers, you name it, James Cooper and that staff over at Grambling State for 2 seasons as an assistant coach there, and then had an opportunity to verge out from Grambling State and take on my own program here at Alabama A&M. I was blessed with a fortunate opportunity from Dr. Andrew Hougini, former president and current AD, Brian Hicks, gave me an opportunity to lead the Bulldogs, and this is where we are today, entering my second season. Well, coming towards the end, we have 2.5 weeks left for the season, so excited. The future we have for our program and myself and my staff, where we're taking it.
Okay. And so how did you, get started in the game of baseball growing up?
Well, I've been around the game since the age of 3, and I played Dixie ball. Started as T-ball. It was one of the best first sports I was taught as a kid growing up, and I just kind of gravitated to it and had an opportunity to really take off in it, playing Dixie League baseball, playing American Legion baseball, and then of course when I was coming up, man, travel ball wasn't as big, so you had the All-Stars and you had to be competitive in your state and try to win your state championship to go on to the World Series. And so when I was coming up, man, that was the exciting part, man, trying to make the All-Star team and then put on for your state. And so I was able to. If I think back on it, I think I was only able to not make All-Stars one time growing up, and so I knew then that baseball was my forte. I was a pretty good hitter. I'm left-handed, and growing up, I was a lot of times I was the only black on my team because my parents sacrificed and were able to put me into those good situations so that I may be successful in the game I love.
Right. So you were a two-sport athlete. I don't know if we see as many two-sport athletes today than we used to, but how did you come up with that decision to stick with baseball going into college or rather than try to play football?
Well, it took a very, very realistic opportunity to sit down with myself, my family. I think the benefit I had over the average, man, my dad coaches for a living. My dad's been coaching basketball in my high school for now. This is year 20. But this is his 34th year coaching in Louisiana high school basketball, and so he's always been a part of our life and always been a realist in helping us make decisions when it comes to sports. And I knew that at some point I was going to have to make a decision whether I stick with football or go play baseball. And I knew baseball was my first love. I was pretty good at it growing up, and I knew that I could probably – the longevity of baseball was very, very higher than it was in football for myself. Then if you look at the professional level, back when I was in high school and college, there were 50 rounds in baseball, whereas in football there were 6 or 7 rounds. So yeah, everyone growing up always looks about wants to play professional baseball. That's the dream. And so those were my options, and I looked at it from a longevity standpoint, that the chances of me being going professional in baseball, is a lot more realistic in baseball than it is in football.
Right, right, right. So, can you talk to the viewers about that recruiting process of you in Huntington, playing baseball, getting interest from coaches, and maybe what schools were interested in, how you chose Southern University?
Well, I'll tell you this much, man. I kind of preach to guys today. It doesn't matter what school you go to. If you have the ability to play at a high level, it's our job to find those players. And so, speaking about my high school, we were a football, basketball heavy school, not
Hmm.
so much a baseball school. But for those who don't know, the really fun fact about my high school, Albert Bell played baseball at my high school,
Yep.
and so being able to kind of have him around growing up, coming back and talk to the program as a former big leaguer was very huge. But the game had changed, the program had changed. I think my last year as a senior was the first time making the playoffs since Joey Bell, and so I call him Joey Bell, but everyone knows him as Albert Bell.
Hmm.
But I tell people all the time that it's just if you put in the work, the opportunities will present itself. And fortunately, like I said, I was blessed to have an opportunity. I was recruited by Grambling State. I was recruited by Jackson State. I was recruited by Southern. Recruited by Arkansas Pine Bluff. And I'm gonna tell you, man, I took all my visits. And I think what sold me was, man, is just being able to play for such a legendary coach as Roger Kadar. And when I was coming up, man, facilities were coming up and coming for
Right.
Southern. Of course, we were right after the Ricky Weeks era at Southern. So baseball in a black standpoint, black school, HBCU school was, if you wasn't going to Southern, man, to play black baseball, then you weren't looked upon. That's why I chose Southern, because of the long tradition of the program, and the championships we won there over the years, and having a great opportunity to play for such a great coach.
Right. Yeah, that's yeah, man. You Roger Cato has a long history and pedigree in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and if you have somebody like that in your living room explaining to you the history, the accolades the program has had, man, it's a hard offer to turn down. So,
Absolutely, man. Coming from a guy that played professional baseball, made it to AAA with the Atlanta Braves, and I mean won numerous of championships. I mean, I think back and look on it, like 16 strike championships
mhm.
in 32 years, man. That's unheard of.
Yep, yep. And talk about somebody that's not only known as SWAC baseball, but is known nationwide. I think he just got inducted into some kind of American Baseball Association's Hall of Fame or something like that. But yeah, man, he's well known around the country, and you know, I think a lot of guys who do know him or have ran into him look up to him, and he's definitely made an impact on a lot of people throughout the time. Um, so with you being a swag guy and playing baseball in the swag, what's something that sticks out with the Southwestern Athletic Conference baseball scene? What sticks out as far as pageantry? What's different from the SWAC than in other conferences that you may have noticed?
Well, I'll tell you this much, man. There's a lot of athleticism in the Southwestern Athletic Conference over years. A lot of good players. I tell people all the time, man, if you haven't been to a SWAC game, specifically baseball, find time to get out, man. Those games are exciting. It brings back memories. Back when I played, it was more um, realistic to as close as you can get to the Negro League game, man. Because there's a lot of chanting, a lot of beating, a lot of excitement, a lot of trash talking, but knowing it's clean and just bringing fun to the game, which it has changed today because umpires kind of police it a little better and don't allow guys to say certain things. But a lot of athleticism, man. I mean, if you look at it, man, Texas Southern leads the country in stolen bases.
Yep.
Um, we're in top 10. We're number 9 in the country in leading stolen bases. So there's a lot of athleticism across the board. and excitement. Really good games. There's no lead safe, no matter how many hours is left to go, no matter what the score is. I've been on both ends of it. And so that's the difference in SWAC baseball than your average. A lot of athleticism, and a lot of excitement.
What's one thing you look forward to, I guess, as a player, as far as playing in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, or maybe a certain game, a certain series, or a certain time of the year that you look forward to?
Well, I being a Southern graduate, just like football, man, you always look forward to playing Grambling. Being the Bayou Classic in baseball, and so
Mm-hmm.
those were really good times. When I played, the Grambling series at Southern was always we honored the Negro Leagues, and so
Yep.
we were able to wear Negro League uniforms in honor of those guys that paved the way for us to be able to play this great game. And so that was exciting, to be able to wear the real Negro League uniforms that those guys wore for 3 games against Grambling State every year as a player. And so that's one weekend that would always stick out to me as a player, coming up, in the SWAC, as a player.
Okay. So you've been a player. You played 4 years and got your degree from Southern University. How did you get into coaching collegiately?
Well, I'll tell you this: when I graduated and moved back to Shreveport and got right into teaching, and coaching with my degree, at C. Bird High School. And unfortunately, I think, some things happened within the staff that coached me at Southern. I won't go into detail with that. And then they were in need of hiring someone immediately, for a small pay. And I was young. Wanted Coach K. knew I wanted to get into coaching, and I was the first person he reached out to, and I wasn't gonna tell that guy no,
Right.
because, like I said, it was such a great opportunity and perfect timing for me. Um, but who would have thought I would have been a 21-year-old freshly out of college, being able to be a Division I assistant baseball coach at such a young age. And so that's how I got into it. He gave me called me in mid-January and said I need to report by the end of January, and I was back in Baton Rouge. I just cleaned out my apartment, and so I was able to veer off and make that turn and transition back to the yard.
I guess what kind of learnings you got from playing that you think you can apply to, I guess, being a coach right now?
Well, being a player for Coach Kadar, and people have to realize this guy was in his 60s coaching 18, 19-year-olds. And so I tell people all the time today, it was harder to play for him than coach with him,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times you see he'll make some statements or hold us accountable for something so small, but in reality, it was really big. And
Right.
so it took me a while it took me to get on the coaching side of things with him to relate, to see what he was actually trying to get across to us as players. And I think that helped me and him his last couple of years coaching, because he had someone like myself that was really just removed from playing for him and able to relate
Right.
and be that mediator between himself and the players that he had currently. And
Yep.
so, um, the one thing I did take from him was always treat guys with respect, always hold everyone accountable, for everything, and be mindful and understand that there's always going to be demand.
Okay.
And so those are two or three key things that I always stuck out from him. That he always held everyone accountable. He didn't have favorites, and he had a demand. And that's that ultimately, that's when in the real world in life, man. That's what the job calls. Everyone's gonna have demand.
Yep. So, would you being a head coach now? You've coached under what, two different coaches, head coaches right now? Um,
3.
three. So Kadar, Cooper, and who else?
Carrick Jackson.
Carrick Jackson. So I guess, what is the difference between, Roger Kadar, maybe Carrick, and then what's the difference between Coach Cooper and how you kind of apply a mixture of all those teachings in one role right now.
Well, what I can say is all three of those guys have been really great to myself and where I am today. Um, the three things they all have in common: they've all won a SWAC championship.
Mm.
And so being able to be in the offices and be in the conversation with those guys, man, it's incredible.
Okay.
It's like having to be a sponge and not gonna get everything, but you're gonna try to get as much as you can from those guys in those conversations. The unique thing is, I would say, with Kadar is that he he did it one way for so long that it was kind of easy getting things from him. With Carrot coming from a Power Five school to a historical black college, the transition was different for him, but he taught me some things as well. Being able to go go as high as you can and ask for whatever you want, or
Yep.
go after the kid. Don't be afraid to go after the kid that Power Five is on, because they all play the game baseball, and you may be able to say one word to a kid that may change his decision in going to a Power Five school. And with Coop, man, it's been a grind. It was a grind. Um, it was really great conversations. Being having to coach against him for so long, and then being on the staff with him, man, I think that was one of the best 2 years of my career.
Oh yeah.
With Coop and Davin, man, we had a great run, and I have to honestly say, man, if it wasn't for COVID, man, who knows where that team would have taken off
Right.
in 2000 in spring of 20.
Okay. Yeah. That team was pretty good, and had a lot of athletes on there. So
Yeah, man, that team we were getting it going, man, at the right time, and we would never forgot we had bust up and we were headed to Prairie View, and we had to turn around. The season was canceled, man, and
yeah.
really talented guys. And that was the last time that we all were kind of together on that staff before I transitioned the next fall.
Okay. So as a head coach right now, um, and a new head coach at that, what are some of the things you look for when you're out recruiting for certain players, and what type of players are you trying to bring to your program? And if there's any younger kids listening, what advice would you give them if they would like to join your program?
Well, I'll tell you this much, and my staff has done a tremendous job in recruiting. Of course, guys with ability. But I always tell them, man, two things have to check off before we go even look at the baseball side of things: character and academics.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, it's my job. I get excited when you walk across that stage and graduate, because at some point baseball is going to end, and so we want to go after guys that, for one, are really good in the classroom because it makes it easier for them to be students of the game, and then two, guys that are very coachable and have understand that this is a game of failure. You're going to fail 7 out of 10 times, but it's what you do with those three opportunities,
Right.
and so character plays a key role in you being able to have some success in the game of failure already. You're trying to hit
Mm-hmm.
a round ball with a round object, and so those are really two key components that we go after before we even look at the ability standpoint of things. And so we've done a really good job in our first recruiting class, and this next recruiting class is going to be even more important than our first one. And so I think we're going in the right direction. For younger guys that's coming up, I would say keep working hard. Take care of your grades. Let's not, for high schoolers, not wait till your junior senior year to turn it on academically.
Yeah.
That core GPA goes be over your 4 years of high school.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to put in the work your ninth, your 10th, 11th, 12th grade year, man. And so that's really vital, per se. And people need to understand that things are going to go back to how they used to. You're going to have to qualify academically with your GPA. You're going to have a test score very soon. Those waivers are going to run out because as things, COVID is becoming the norm now, and so NCAA is going to buckle down on guys, making sure they're academically sound, specifically coming to Division One, and so We want guys to keep working hard, keep listening. I tell people all the time, and I tell my players, man, Sada Ada, one of the greatest hitters in Japanese history, man. He took 1,500 swings a day. Not literally live swings, but he shadow swing. And I tell
Mm-hmm.
my guys all the time, man, take 500 swings. You don't have to be live 500 swings, but you take 200 shadow swings in the mirror when you wake up and 200 after lunchtime. And before you know, there's 400 dry swings. And you'll be able to repeat your motion in that box and lock in mentally. And you'll see some really good results. And so that's a really great saying I got from the legendary Roger Cador, man. And so I think we're going in the right direction. But the key is for us, man, at A&M is academics and character
Right.
before baseball.
Okay. So we in the second half of the season. With 3 series left, 2 series left.
2 series left.
Yep. So what's your take on your team so far? Like on the first half of the season, what do you guys need to get in order to make the SWAC tournament coming up? And who are some guys who have you've been impressed with so far this year?
Well, I can tell you this, man. It's been a roller coaster for us. Being it is our first full season. Last spring we didn't meet our guys until 2 weeks before the season. This year, having an actual fall practice and strength and conditioning program, but the problem we have is we brought in a lot of transfers,
Mm-hmm.
and so it takes a while for those guys to get going, gelling and playing together. And we've had some ups and downs this season. But I think the positive things are we're still in the hunt, giving ourselves a chance to be able to make the SWAC tournament. And if you look back and people look at our record and say, "Oh man, that team is bad." We've lost 14 one-run games.
Hmm.
And so if you look back on those one-run games and 1 or 2 plays here, 1 or 2 pitches here, 1 or 2 at bats here, we could easily be an over 500 team.
Right.
And so I think for us is just being able to be consistent and figure out how to win those tough games collectively as a whole. And I'm excited. Like I said, we're right there in the hunt. We're 2 games out of 4th place on the eastern side, behind Jackson State. And so realistically, man, I think we have to win both weekends to give ourselves give us a best chance to make the SWAC tournament towards the end of May.
Yeah.
We're on a 5-game winning streak right now, coming off a really good road win at North Alabama last night.
Oh yeah.
And so anytime you're able to win some games out of conference is really key going
Right.
into conference play on the weekend.
Yeah. And I know the injury bug has kind of bit you this year too, with one of your best hitters out.
Yeah, we've been fortunate, not to make excuses, man, but we've had some injuries that kind of have set some guys out, or you got some guys that want to get going, and unfortunately, man, sometimes you got to dealt bad cards. You got to play them.
Yep.
And so we were out Jim Michael Bastrado for the last 2 weeks, who's our best hitter right now. A sophomore from Fort Myers, Florida. And then we went up and down with our shortstop play. Chandler Stocking, I had a broken finger. He's missed the last week as well. And then our Friday night guy, Jose Figueroa, been having some arm issues as well. And so he may not be able to go this weekend. But I always tell our guys, man, it's next guy up. Be ready when your name is called. And so that's where we are, and excited about where we're taking and the opportunities we have moving forward. But we've been blessed and fortunate with some really good players. Now it's just about them being consistent.
Right.
And so the transfer portal did help us. Every guy we have in the outfield is a transfer portal guy. From Nehemiah Wright, that was at Grambling State. From Damani Tommy, that was at Edwin Waters, to Tim Dixon, that was at University of Arkansas Little Rock. Those 3 guys have really been really good for us. You may not look at the numbers wise, but being able to have a 5th and 6th year guy play every day, almost every day for you, man, it takes the pressure off the younger guys to
Right.
have to be so perfect.
Right.
And so I'm excited where we are as a program.
Okay. So Coach, what is your opinion on the name, image, and likeness that has swiped NCAA athletics. Um, has it gotten to SWAC baseball yet, or do you think it'll get there anytime soon?
I'm all a fan of it. And the reason why I say it is because if you look at on the professional side of things, baseball has cut down the draft, and so the really good guys that you would think will be drafted are deciding to go to school because of the name, image, and likeness policy. And so those guys are able to go to make a legitimate name for themselves before even going turning professional.
Right.
And so specifically in baseball, I think it's going to take one or two guys to make a decision to go to a historical black college because of baseball is a different sport. It's not your same sport that you can just one player can just dominate. But
Mm-hmm.
if you have one or two guys, even three guys, decide to go to a historical black college, then it becomes a domino effect. You get one or two guys every year. Then at some point you're going to have 5 or 6 guys there together.
Right.
That will create some bub and pub at a high level, and you'll be able to see a company want to be able to invest
And
in a team, just like Dion. I
yep.
mean, to have the number one player or however you know, number one, number two, it doesn't matter. Kids in the top 5 in this class in the country, and he decided to go to a historical black college.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure name, image, and likeness had a lot to do with that his decision. But the same thing can happen in baseball. And I tell people all the time, baseball is the one sport that can play for a national championship.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike football at HBCU, they can play for a Celebration Bowl champion, but it's not playing for a national championship in Omaha or a BCS football. They can't play for a BCS football championship.
Mm-hmm.
And so baseball is the one sport that we're already going to have a team represent us every year in a regional. There's never been a historical black college make a super regional. There's never been a historical black college make it to the College World Series. But it's going to take that one class, those one or two guys that say, "Hey, why not go to Alabama A&M and make history,
Yep.
and put your name on a forever history board."
Yeah. I look at guys like Trey Morgan at LSU. Like those are some guys I look at that should be in the SWAC. And then you got guys like Tamar Johnson and Andrew. Is
And
it
Andrew
Andrew
Jones,
Jr.? I mean, those guys would probably be top
Elijah
2.
Green.
But
I mean, you got 2 guys right there in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia.
right,
They're gonna be in the top 10 pick in the MLB draft.
right. These not private
Um,
schools either. Like these
no,
are,
it's public
you know,
school. Mays High School. I mean, Jason Anderson, a Southern University alum, is the head baseball coach at Mays High School,
mm-hmm.
where Tamar Johnson is the phenom at.
Yep.
But prime example, it does not matter where you go to school at. If you're good, they'll come and find you.
Yep. If you can hit line drives and bombs,
At a
yeah,
consistent rate.
yeah, they're gonna find you. They're gonna find
Absolutely. So, but it's going to take that special one or two guys to take off in the historical black college,
you.
specifically in baseball.
Yeah. So, anything you do, as far as in the community back home, trying to increase the black participation in baseball.
I tell you this one thing, man. One thing I do, I give free clinics back at home every time I go back to Shreveport. I do one in June and one in July every summer, because you never want to forget where you come from. And I think the most important thing and the most important piece to get young blacks back involved in the sport baseball, teaching them the history. The average 30, 40-year-old didn't play baseball like the average 50 or 60-year-old did. So it's being able to teach them a vital lesson of how we had our own league. We
Right.
didn't need the MLB to play professional baseball. We had the Negro leagues. And so if you teach that to the younger generation, you may be able to get the right one's attention to want to be able to stick with baseball, like we did growing up. But the average parents didn't play baseball, and
Mhm.
so
It's too
It is
hard.
what it is. Right. You and I played it, but again, we didn't go to predominantly white institutions with schools. We went to black schools that just had football and basketball. Baseball was the third sport. Wasn't and they never was funded. It was just, hey, my coaches always, hey, just grab kids off the football fields. Hey, I think he could play baseball, and so being able to change that image starts with guys like you and I,
Yep.
getting out of the community, um, bringing other guys around that are familiar faces. I
Mhm.
think the player alliance is going to make some big changes in bringing some faces into the community, and bring excitement to black baseball.
Okay. Can you just, I guess, just give us a little high level of what Player Alliance is?
Player alliance, man, is was a what do you want to how do I nonprofit organization created by former major league players. Uh, some names will be Edwin Jackson, a former big league pitcher for the Chicago Cubs. Curtis Granderson, former outfielder with
Right.
the Detroit and Cleveland Indians. And then you have CC Sabathia, the Cy Young winner for the New York Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
And names like those guys come together with a nonprofit and really want to be involved in black baseball, in minority baseball, and try to get the numbers increased in that organization. And so they go do public speaking at different places, different states, and meeting with different inner city organizations, specifically in baseball, to try to get more youth involved. And I think
Right.
it's going to go into the right direction, man. If they can attract the right programs and organizations to help fund these black baseball, kind of like MLB does as well with the urban
Yep.
academies. And
Yeah. They do
so
a good job.
I think those guys are going in. I think everybody's kind of pulling in the right direction for that, and want what's better for blacks coming up in the younger generations to be good in baseball.
Right, right. And I think the MLB does a good job also out here in Houston. The Astros, specifically the Astros Foundation, they help us out at Southeast Little League, which is a little league in the inner city southeast part of Houston. So they've helped us do field upgrades. They even put some Astros signage up, and I think they may even be putting some turf down. So that'll be good for some
That'll
inner
be
city
huge,
kids.
man, and being able to, like I said, bring in the right type of person to give the history of the
Hmm.
game itself, and attract those younger kids.
Right, and the person over Southeast Little League is or one of the people that's over is Lawson Howard, who is former Grambling State baseball player. So he does a good job of telling kids about the history of baseball and bringing these kids to black baseball games. He sponsored a weekend at the Texas Southern Grambling Series, so the kids got to see that play. So that's definitely a good thing for the community.
I think the more and more you're able to express and show younger kids that blacks are doing it will draw their interest and excitement to them.
Most definitely. Yeah, and with that being said, any final things you want to talk about, or any things you want to wrap up with, and get the audience something to close us out.
Just keep pressing on, man, and be prepared when opportunity presents itself. Preparation meets opportunity. I mean,
Yep.
if you're prepared in life in general, when opportunity presents itself, then you have no doubt that you'll be successful. And keep working hard, love on each other, um, and be kind. There's nothing wrong with being kind. I hear people saying nice guys finish last. No, nice guys finish first.
Hmm.
In today's society, man. And so keep pushing. Never forget where you come from and keep working hard, man. Good things will happen.
Most definitely, that's a good advice to give, especially for young kids right now trying to either get into college baseball or maybe some college kids trying to even coach. So I appreciate you coming out tonight and giving us this good information and a good interview. I wish you guys the best of luck in the second half of the season at Alabama A&M, and I'll definitely be watching and keeping up with you guys statistically. So, and that's it for tonight. It's your boy Al. We signing out for the Swac'n Fool podcast. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, and stay tuned for future interviews. And we out.